Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining us here for our 2:30 session. It's usually the tough one, the dead of the afternoon. That's why we brought these folks in to draw you into the room. So welcome all. PDMI West 2023 here at Intercontinental San Diego. We thank you all for being here. We thank the hotel for their service. Hopefully you all are enjoying it. My name is Thomas Haire. I'm the Chief Content Officer of the PDMI, and I've put myself on stage with the best group possible. So we do have a sponsor for our educational sessions, and that is Pacific Media Technologies. PMT has shared some videos to share with you. Here's one of them now.
Our team is bar none. I mean, together as a family, pretty much, family niche.
You've got people that are easy to talk to. They don't mind if you come to them with problems. They're easy to work with.
I'm happy working with my coworkers, and I can't wait to get here.
They deliver work that they're proud of, and it shows.
Pacific Media Technologies. Technology driven, quality guaranteed.
Once again, thank you to PMT for their support of the show. Thank you to all of our sponsors, all of our member companies as well, and all of you who bought badges to join us here. We really appreciate it. That said, I'm excited to have you here today for our session, Performance Marketing and CTV. What's the buzz? We're going to find out with this great group. This trio of experts are here to discuss the change that CTV is bringing to the media marketplace. With projected ad sales growth this year of more than 13% and an annual compounded growth rate of more than 10% during the next 5 years, what opportunities can performance marketers expect in the coming months and years? The group that I'm welcoming to the stage today should help us figure some of that out. Starting all the way to my left, for more than 25 years, Matt Cote has brought his passion for all things video and performance to help clients reach their goals and grow efficiently. He's particularly focused on how to best utilize CTV and OTT to drive that growth. He previously ran the video innovation department at ICOF, focusing on all video outside of linear television. Now in his role as Director of Specialized Demand at Magnite, he helps performance agencies and brands tap into CTV, OTT, video, display, and audio to drive success across multiple KPIs. Welcome, Matt Cote.
Thank you.
In the center, Kaitlin Stebbins is the Performance Media Sales Manager at Samsung Ads. In this role, she oversees a portfolio that includes performance agencies and advertisers. Before joining Samsung, she served as the Associate Director of Advertiser Solutions at PubMatic, where she managed annual revenue goals of $130 million and maintained crucial relationships with prominent agencies such as IPG, Omnicom, Publicis, WPP, and Horizon Media. Welcome, Kaitlin.
Thanks.
And right next to me, TaraLynn Marinho.
Yeah.
Senior Manager of Performance Sales and Growth, is responsible for managing Roku's growth performance team focused on driving performance for marketers in a streaming environment. Prior to Roku, she worked at a data analytics company, bringing data and measurement solutions to market for the auto, retail, entertainment, CPG, travel, and QSR verticals. She has a deep expertise in driving revenue for emerging media platforms, programmatic, first-party data measurement, mixed media strategies, and custom content curation. Welcome, TaraLynn.
Thank you.
Now, I'm not going to bore you with a whole bunch of statistics right off the bat. I'm just going to give some key ones that'll kind of set the stage here. Certain stats show that streaming TV has officially surpassed traditional TV in viewing among adults 18 to 49. 74% in that demo access streaming weekly, while just 68% access traditional TV. And among folks 18 and older, the time spent streaming has more than tripled in the past 5 years. This growth and dominance is even more pronounced with viewers under age 18. So we are talking about an incredibly fast growing sector, a sector that's new, especially for performance marketers. We know that performance marketers and their agencies have been testing this area, and that's why we brought this group together here today. So I'm going to start with this. The first question I've got is, and I'm going to start with you, Kaitlin. What are the top 2 things that advertisers that are just entering the CTV space must consider?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, thank you for having myself and Samsung Ads here. We're really excited to be a part of this community. But I think, you know, as you're starting to lean in and test broadly, there's so many different devices and platforms out there, and each one has a different audience behind it. So really the more you can test, the more insights you're going to be able to unlock. And then second, providing yourself with the time to yield results for these campaigns. It's a different medium than most performance advertisers are used to, right? It functions differently, may not necessarily fit in the same research or results bucket. So giving yourself the time to analyze results, make optimizations mid-campaign so that you can actually start to see the results that you're looking for.
TaraLynn, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely an opportunity to test and continue to learn. When we think about the opportunity that exists outside of just streaming, it's really about testing new units, new and exciting units that you can lean into. With Roku in general, just talking a little bit about some of the performance units, our home screen is available for the first time ever for our DR and performance advertisers. These were traditionally units that when you turned on your TV were only available for media and entertainment and content. And now for the first time, we're actually allowing our performance and DR advertisers to monetize and celebrate their brands on the first place that people are getting to when they turn on their TV screen. So it's an important time, an exciting time for DR. But really, I think it's as we continue to innovate together, we're pushing the rest of the market forward.
Absolutely, Matt.
Not to oversimplify it, but I think across any media within the performance world, it really often comes down to the core of finding the right inventory at the right price. And the right price doesn't always mean the lowest price, but the right price, and then measuring. And I know there was a discussion earlier about attribution and measurement. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but being able to find that inventory and measure the results within this broad testing is, I think, where I recommend everyone start.
Makes sense. TaraLynn, I'm going to go to you with this question first, mainly because you kind of are the one who brought it to me and as a thought. And then I'll obviously go to you as well, Kaitlin.
I didn't know we could do that.
Yeah. How are Roku and Samsung addressing this sort of three-legged stool when it comes to CTV? What is the value propositions for consumers/viewers, publishers/content owners, and third, advertisers?
So really quick, just in case you're not as familiar with Roku, it's the #1 streaming platform in the US. 1 in 3 TVs that are sold are powered by Roku. So that means they use our operating system to function. Those 3 legs, both our publishers, our consumers, as well as our advertisers, are all very valuable. Our publishers depend on Roku because there's over 73 million homes that we reach, and they're promoting the content on our platform. All the great apps that we love to basically stream live on Roku's platform. We call it like the front door to all of your streaming behaviors. From a consumer perspective, it is very important that we make streaming very easy, and we're serving up the content for all of our consumers, making it easy to adapt to content, but make sure that we're also investing in the right content for them to get. From an advertising perspective, it's important that we're creating unique ad experiences that are helping drive results. So I'll talk about my own ad experience. A few months ago, while riding my Peloton, actually converted off my TV screen and bought a water pick. I didn't need to take out my credit card. I didn't need to take out anything else but other than using my remote control. When we think about when years ago it was about that 800 number, now you can actually buy product from the TV screen in a very seamless experience. A few months ago, you may have turned on your Roku and saw that it was the color pink. Barbie created an entire immersive experience by leveraging Roku City, which is a screensaver, made their brand unmissable. And then they also promoted the front using Roku's home screen ads to run content as well as promote the movie. And then the last piece, which is important to all of us performance marketers, they allow the ability to buy tickets on the TV. So it's really using the brand to make your brand unmissable in a streaming environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Kaitlin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think everything Samsung is a consumer-facing company. Pretty sure most people know Samsung. And so everything we do, right, is that has the consumer at the forefront. So in terms of the user experience and the content, we wanted to be able to provide access to high-quality content for free as soon as you take the TV out of the box. So that's our free ad-supported streaming service, Samsung TV Plus, that comes pre-installed on all 2016 TVs and newer. If anybody's in the market for a new TV, we're happy to help you and add to our footprint. But really focusing on the consumer with the content in terms of publishers, given the shift from linear to streaming, we wanted to be able to help monetize their partners' content in different ways. And then last but not least, advertisers, everybody in the room, we consciously wanted to make the experience feel linear-like. We've been having conversations with multiple of you. We actually were just at lunch and talking about how some people don't even realize that they're in the app itself, that they turn on the TV and they enter into content. You don't know, is it linear? Am I watching cable? Am I watching this app? Am I watching TV Plus? So being able to provide high quality content in a seamless, linear-like experience where, performance advertisers can thrive and have historically been, making that experience seamless for you as well.
That's great. Obviously, any outlet needs viewers. We got to understand the trends, the behaviors that are going on. I'll start with you on this one, TaraLynn. What CTV viewership behaviors and trends are you tracking right now? And I'm going to roundtable to everyone.
Yeah, so we're seeing a ton of growth. We know at this point streaming has more time spent, and more adults 18 to 49 are streaming than in linear traditional TV. That growth continues. We've also used data to inform everything that we've done at Roku, and listening to that data over 5 years ago is why we built the Roku channel, which is our listening to consumers, and they were coming to the channel searching for free content. So it's why we built the Roku channel, to bring publisher content onto the platform. It's our AVOD experience as well as our FAST experience. There's over 300 linear live channels that are available. And we built that by listening to the data and trends that were happening on the platform. Consumers were telling us 5 years ago that they wanted free content and they wanted ad-supported content. So it's where we've been investing. We now have live content with Rich Eisen, which is a daily show, which around sports. We also have the ability of creating new content on the fly. We've invested a lot in the Great American Baking Show, Jessica Alba, Honest Renovations. We also, my personal favorite, which is Sushi Masters, the first ever sushi reality show. And if no one's seen it, trust me, it's really good. It actually just came in for season 2. And then our first movie with Weird Al Yankovic. So we're continuing to invest in this original content because it's the fastest growing thing on the streaming platform, even outside of Roku, which is our FAST and AVOD services.
Mm-hmm. So I would just say that the biggest trend, obviously growth is the term, but also like fluid. I think, I'm not sure if it's right, but most people would think kind of linear for years and years and years was a little bit like, hey, you had X amount of homes, it didn't change too much. And I think in the growth of streaming, you're seeing just people, subscribe for a couple months to watch a show, jump out to another platform. And so I just think while growth is great, it's also getting a little bit messy in terms of where people are watching, how they're watching. So those are the trends that we're just kind of keeping our eyes on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to build off of what Matt just said, I think, yes, the shift, we're seeing the shift from linear to streaming, but the viewership behavior changes, right? So on linear, most consumers were watching, over a dozen channels. Within streaming, we're seeing it's more, it's like 3 to 4 apps per month. And then just combating app churn specifically, the fight for consumers' attention is certainly real and fierce. And so being able to provide new and interesting content, and like I always found it interesting, our business development team, not only them going out and searching for new content, but also looking at the numbers of who's engaging. And just as frequently as they're bringing on new stuff, they'll take away, they'll sunset different channels or package the content differently, because you want to consistently have fresh and new stuff in front of our what is it, like a gold, our attention span is that of a goldfish at this point, or less than.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But we know that this audience is so engaged because they spend almost 11 minutes to find a piece of content to watch. So once they actually decide on what they want to watch, they're in a very leaned in atmosphere, and they're wanting to engage with your brands as well, as long as we continue to create engaging ad experiences.
Right. Matt, to you with this one, how do you believe CTV ad opportunities currently fall in line with the goals of performance marketing?
I for a long time, have thought they are like exactly in line. And I think being able to target in a granular fashion to reach your audience, being able to measure very quickly in terms of response, being able to adapt buys, I think all of those tenets that have driven DRTV and performance marketing over the years, I think are a perfect fit for CTV. And in my previous role, I mean, we saw it across the board, and in my new role, there's just every single vertical within the performance marketplace seems to be thriving, and I do think a lot of that is based on some of the growth that we've seen over the last 5 years.
Yeah. TaraLynn, what about you? Your thoughts on that?
Just I think measurement is something that continues to be a challenge. Let's be honest about, like, one of the things that I think a lot of clients are up against with it, and what we're doing is helping our clients navigate some of those challenging by creating a more open ecosystem and allowing a lot of different third-party measurement vendors for us to be able to partner with, so that I don't think we were as open to that a few years ago, and we're continuing to innovate and create a more open ecosystem to make it easy for our marketers to find a place to launch their ads and also measure them.
Great. Kaitlin, anything to add there?
Yeah, I think we touched on it earlier. Like, CTV is a different medium and doesn't necessarily fall within the same measurement structure. So just ensuring, that you're looking at all the various capabilities that it has. I think it combines and unlocks opportunities from linear as well as digital. You mentioned, the targeting. So taking the ability to target an audience while also putting your brand in front of and aligning to quality content on the largest screen in the home, like in linear, is certainly provides benefits. So yeah.
Back to you with this one, Kaitlin. Current CTV ad opportunities that are trending, what are marketers, brands, clients most interested in testing?
So we've seen interest in different ad formats, creative lengths, and then I think improved targetability. So first, then again, I was telling you earlier, testament to your questions. Like, we've been having these conversations the last 2 days, which has been really great. But Samsung's in a unique position to be able to offer creative lengths from 15 seconds to 120 seconds. So it's really nice for historical DR advertisers to come in and use that longer form 2 minutes. I know a lot are used to even longer, but so utilizing those 2 minutes to put their message in front of consumers, hoping to make a connection and drive an action. And then in terms of, where advertisers are saying they want to become more creative in terms of interactivity and creating a unique experience so that the consumers take action afterwards. They're engaged more and then they take action. So being able to tap into all the available signals that they have from various platforms to hit their target audience. And then as a result of our announcement, our partnership with Brightline, we've been hearing more about interest in interactive units as well.
Yeah, I would jump in. That interactive is definitely for the last year and a half been kind of a hot topic, which I find interesting because this idea of like, hey, we're taking the best of digital and putting it back on the big screen, and it's your flashy 30 seconds, and people are like, but if I could also bring some of that nice digital stuff where I surround my ad with a QR code or a call to action or a localized retail outlet, it's interesting. And I think there's been examples where it's taken too far and there's too much going on. I think there's a lot of times where it's been simple and easy for the consumer to interact with, but definitely interactive.
Yeah,
I think some of the closed measurement stuff that Roku is, We've done partnerships with Shopify and Walmart, making that experience within the creative extremely seamless. So you're using your remote control to transact and then getting that product shipped to you within either 24 hours or even in a couple of days. So that we're taking that ad experience and then marrying it with what we know about the Roku consumer already, and then making that seamless checkout experience so they don't need to then whip out their phone and look for a QR code. They ultimately can just use what they already have in their hand, which is the remote control.
Makes sense. Flipping the question around, what types of clients and brands are currently in the marketplace? Have you seen a shift or a specific category growth through the past year, Matt?
Yeah, I would say in the early days, you almost got both ends. You got the bigger brands that just have a ton of money and they just want to test everything and they don't really care about too much of the measurement. And then you kind of had this socially native digital group that's like, let me kind of play around with that. And I felt like there was a big giant gap in the middle. And I feel like that's filled in over the years in terms of, mid-sized brands, smaller brands. It's available for everyone now as opposed to just on both ends.
Makes sense. Anyone have anything to add there?
I would say it is a place for everyone. There's, when you think of even some of the tools that are available, there are ads manager tools now where you can log in and use your credit card and launch ads. Roku has their own ads manager tool. And there's the ability to meet brands either in the middle or even big brands on the platform. But what we've really done is we've created an entire team that's focused on DR and is focused on performance and is innovating with our internal teams to make sure that we're constantly bringing new products to the marketplace to drive performance, whether that be through our action ads experience, whether that would be through leveraging some of our first party data segments from a targeting perspective. It's really all the best that we have in digital on the biggest screen in the home in such an engaged experience. So it's over 73 million homes that we're constantly being able to get in front of.
And I think that idea of building out a performance team is something that I'm guessing most people in the room know. If you don't, all of the big players have been smart over the last few years to say, hey, there's this giant marketplace on TV. How do we bring it over to the streaming section? And so it's just know that all the people that you've worked with in the past, there's people out there that can help you. They know performance. They know the importance of that correct CPM and that tracking. I think that's been awesome for the industry, especially this industry.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of tools that we even have at our fingertips today that we didn't have a few years ago. Our linear insights tools and our streaming insights tools, because we have those signals, because the operating system is also on our TVs, right? So we're able to see linear signals as well as streaming signals. We're using those data signals to help inform our performance clients, help them inform how they can go and find that incremental audience that they may not be hitting in other channels. So I would say continue to tap, I think, all of us for those tools to be able to plan and make sure that your campaigns are more effective.
Right, each of us, we all have performance teams, and we're here to help and navigate these waters. And yeah, I think we're similarly seeing across vertical interest in increased testing, digging a little bit deeper maybe than just like, hey, do you have low CPMs and scale? But I also think the increase in investment is key to note as well, and that early adopters who have been in this space for a few years now, right? They have the advantage of looking at the insights and finding out what works, and we've seen them really start to lean in. So that's been exciting to grow with them as well.
That's great. That's great. I think the image a lot of people might have is that CTV is for bigger brands still. It's that it's not, that to your point about cost and all these different things, that it's maybe not working for performance brands or for small, medium-sized brands. How is it working for small and medium-sized brands?
We're seeing a lot of small, medium-sized brands come into the marketplace and continue to test and learn, and it is a place for everyone. I think that's one of the things we all believe, that it's not just for big brands, and there is all different types of price points as well as tools that you can use and tap into in order to have a good experience with streaming. Different than, I guess, like traditional TV. There's definitely a place for all of the different brands. We're seeing more brands not just test, but actually commit to those always-on learning agendas that are helping drive their brands forward. So that would probably,
Yeah, agree. Yeah, great. Kaitlin, I'm going to go to you with this one. Obviously, another kind of idea that's pretty pervasive out there is that programmatic buying is extremely dominant from an inventory standpoint. How are you noticing performance in D2C brands affected by this idea?
Yeah, we've seen performance and D2C brands lean into programmatic, which is super exciting. I mean, I came to Samsung coming from an SSP, and I think, but it's a testament to our team really going to market and saying, hey, we want to meet the buyer in whichever way they want to transact. And so also, you know, being able to provide access to our inventory in whichever way, right? So either it's via direct IO managed service, through a third-party SSP, via PMP or PG, or via Samsung's own DSP. You know, we want to make it, provide parity in access to our inventory. I think I actually just read an eMarketer article that said programmatic CTV ad growth was decreasing, the growth, but of net new dollars, still 40% is going towards CTV. So I think that, coupled with Samsung's commitment to be providing accessibility to our inventory, really has me optimistic for our performance programmatic growth.
And I would just say that's a sign of the maturation of the marketplace, in that I think when most companies launch, they're like, hey, this is how we're going to market, and that's how we're going to do it. And I think most companies have evolved to say, hey, we're going to be working with partners and agencies that don't have this skill set but want to learn. So, hey, let's do managed service. We've got some that are coming in and then they've got 12 whiz kids with their hands on keyboard ready to do programmatic, and let's make sure that they've got that set. And so I think it's just a great sign of the maturation in the marketplace.
Meet a marketer where they are, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I don't think you have, like, you can do both.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to, and you could go back and forth, you know, it's totally up to you how you want to.
Sense. Market saturation, there's obviously an array of outlets, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. How big of a concern, and what should buyers know when thinking about this opportunity, TaraLynn?
I would say we haven't even met the opportunity where it is just yet, because there is a lot of growth, but when a lot of marketers actually starting their planning with traditional TV still. So even though we've seen time spent and grow, we've seen the streaming audience continue to grow, we haven't necessarily seen the brands all start with streaming first. So there's still an incredible opportunity for us to take advantage of. And our fast channels alone continue to grow and create access to inventory, as well as the access to unique creative ad experiences, plus leveraging some of our first-party data capabilities will help you get in front of the right audience with the right time at the biggest screen in the room. So I really, truly don't think we've fully have met where we could. There's so much more that we get to do together as an industry to push it forward. I think just us being on a panel together today is super exciting for me, and seeing all of these people in the room. I have a lot of gratitude for you all being here. You're probably change makers within your organization, trying to get people involved with streaming and get them to understand on the opportunity that exists. And for that, I'm really excited to see you all here today, and thank you for your time.
I think, once again, growth is great, but having come from being on the other side of the table, it's also a little bit overwhelming. As you're looking across the ecosystem, where to buy, how to buy, through a publisher, through a device, there's pros and cons to all of them, but it is a lot. And so at Magnite, that's one of the things that we try to do, is work with brands and agencies to sit down and talk about the different supply paths, the different ways you can tap into that inventory, and also to make sure that you've got the scale. Because while there is growth, if you're looking for a specific content category, at some point you may run into scale issues. And so we like to be able to tap into scale across different devices, publishers, and outlets.
Now that you're on the dark side of sales, I feel like we need to talk. We need to talk more about. I want to hear your opinion more on that. But yeah. I think not necessarily market saturation, but I don't think that's an issue, similar to what TaraLynn mentioned. But the finding your target audience is certainly hard, right? Like especially with the fragmentation and app churn, people are changing to various different apps every other week. But I do think that, you know, we up here, and specifically at Samsung, we have the ability to help you navigate those waters, utilizing the data signals that we have to fight fragmentation. So I think, you know, come to us, we're here to help, and we want to.
Yeah, it's all the best like that you have of digital, right time, right audience, precise targeting, and getting them on the biggest screen in the home. It's incredibly exciting.
And a lot less ad clutter. Less ad clutter as
Exactly,
well, which is big.
exactly,
It's big.
which is really important.
Great stuff. One of the biggest complaints we hear from members across the spectrum of performance marketing is the inability to accurately measure how CTV is working in accord with the rest of a campaign. What kinds of measurement are offered to CTV ad clients, and how have they advanced as the outlet has grown, Matt?
I mean, I'm a little biased just because I think back to 5 or 6 years ago what we could track and look at what we can track now, and to me it's like, whoa, like we've got a lot of tools. Whether you build something in-house with your agency, whether you use a third-party source, whether you use a DSP, there's just a lot of tools out there that I feel you should be able to very confidently get to, especially on the web, a cost per visit, cost per lead, cost per sale. I think it can get a little bit muddy when you're trying to compare that to what you're doing on linear, but there are solutions to look across both. I kind of feel like we've got to the point where I don't think that should be a concern anymore. I think it's now going past to store traffic, to sales, to stuff that's maybe not a direct web signal. And I think that's kind of where the next step is going in terms of measurement. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like you can measure CTV just as well, if not better, than linear.
Yeah, we're building out what you just said about the digital action. I think, again, the viewership behavior has changed as well. So we're seeing that somebody who's streaming may be more apt to downloading an app or visiting a website to make a conversion, as opposed to calling an 800 number. So we're seeing more advertisers, you know, open to pixeling their website and being able to track those conversions. And you know, we just brought to market recently a product called Smart Audience, where we utilize machine learning algorithm and AI, buzzword of the month. But
Get it in.
You gotta get it in there.
And utilize with our powered by our first party data to hone in, drive those optimizations or drive those conversions and optimize towards them.
Makes sense. I mean, I'm going to go off script here for a minute, and I'm thinking about this. So, in my house, I have a Roku TV in the playroom for the kids. I have an Amazon Fire TV in the living room, and on the deck, I have a Samsung TV that is both a smart TV, but we also have a Fire Stick on it for some reason.
How many of those did you pay for? Did you get from
I paid for all of them.
We'll get you an updated Roku, I promise, and for anyone else in the audience.
And I'm just thinking about this, and I'm not going to give an adult example, but how the hell am I supposed to track what version of Paw Patrol my kids are watching across those 3 TVs, when it could be Paramount Plus, it could be a fast channel, it could be, and how, like, it makes me think about how are you guys able to track all of this across, as a viewer skips from one to another and maybe is skipping to very similar content across all of these things. How does that work, and how are you able to answer questions that an advertiser might have as they come into an atmosphere like this, where someone's watching something very similar across multiple outlets, but you're not quite sure where that is?
Yeah,
No,
you
go ahead. No.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I mean, the one thing is,
We're such a
they're all-
polite group.
They're all on the same IP address, so
Yeah.
that's good and bad. But I think you also have ACR data on most of those devices, where you're able to pull off what was before Paw Patrol and after Paw Patrol and get a sense of where that was coming from. So that helps a lot. So you can pick it apart, and you can try to get there. You're not going to know. There's going to be bleed over between it. It's the same thing when 5 people are watching a linear TV spot on the couch. So I would just say that, yes, hopefully over time we get better and better at pulling those apart. but I would not let that be a barrier to entry to test,
Yeah.
because whichever device you're testing on, you should be able to get the results that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to naysay.
No,
It's
no,
more
no,
along the
yeah,
lines
yeah.
of like, I'm like, how does this?
Oh, it's a
You
mess.
figured
It could be a
out.
mess.
Well, with one for the Roku TV, and you probably did this when you first got your television, which I'm, by the way, happy to send you a new one, as well as devices for anyone in the room. Let us know. You log in, you give us your email address, your credit card information, and you're logged into the Roku ecosystem, and then we're able to see what the content that you're watching, as well as all the ads that you're exposed to, and that's what we're using with a lot of our insights reporting for both streaming and for linear, to help our clients understand where they should run, or where they necessarily, the audience that they want to get after in a streaming environment, so it's not duplicative to what they're already doing in traditional TV. But again, it's when you're logged in on the Roku device, we know that household, we know the behaviors that are happening, and to Matt's point, the ACR data is a very strong signal that our advertisers are leaning into to use. That ACR signal is so strong that for brands, we were talking earlier about big brands being able to spend and being in big moments, or in like maybe in sports, for example, and other brands may not be able to afford to be in that. We absolutely can use that ACR signal to say, well, these are all the people that actually watch that content, and then reach that user or consumer actually in a different way on the Roku ecosystem. So yeah, it's such a great opportunity.
Anything?
Yeah, I mean, same in terms of Samsung. It's, you know, the #1 smart TV in the U.S. and worldwide. So being able to see all the, you know, everything in terms of linear streaming, seeing what apps are being opened, we can utilize that data to target specifically for, you know, who's opened I think Paw Patrol's on Paramount. Yeah, we've aged out of Paw Patrol a little bit, but soon we'll be back in it,
You're
I'm
aging
sure.
back in.
Yeah, exactly. But no, go ahead.
A little bit of a tangent going back to your question about trends, and I think you both have hit on it, but it's also live viewership is just through the roof. Sports and news kind of drives a lot of that, and it's just a super, super hot area for marketers and advertisers to try and get into that live content. So just random from back before.
I know, I think people would be surprised that we have so many linear fast channels
Yeah.
on our platforms. I know I'm oftentimes surprised and delighted when I tell people in a room that we have over 300 linear live channels, and they almost look at me like, really? And then we'll talk about their streaming experience, and they've watched the linear channels themselves, and I'm just like, it's just so funny.
True. I mean, I can't keep track of where these kids are watching these shows, but that's just the way it is. Kaitlin, I'm going to go to you, and we kind of trended in this direction a little bit. It seems an array of data and measurement companies have entered the marketplace with their own currency and measurement offerings. What solutions are or should be most important to video performance marketers, no matter what outlet they're using, linear, streaming, digital video, et cetera?
Yeah, definitely a lot of new companies, data and measurement companies out there, and I'm sure all of you can attest to that. Sometimes it's hard to navigate what's what. I personally am excited about the enhanced capabilities that are coming out, and honestly too, just the optimism and drive for being able to solve the marketplace challenges is really exciting. But in terms of what to look for or to focus on, I think, you know, being able to look at all these various platforms, as you mentioned, you know, native as well, native streaming, CTV, holistically, looking at them under one microscope, and then also being able to utilize privacy-first data collection as well will be key, paramount to success.
Over half of the impressions that are served in a streaming environment happen on a Roku. So we truly believe having an open ecosystem with our measurement partners will allow for more precise measurement using Roku's ecosystem, because, like I said, 1 in 3 TVs that are sold are powered by Roku. We're reaching over 73 million homes. That signal is so important in a streaming environment to understand if we are truly able to measure from start to finish the consumer journey across multiple different devices that are happening within the household. So not just the TV screen, but also every other device the consumer interacts with.
I'll put on my old school DR hat. we used to always say like, hey, the ratings don't matter, it's just the response. I think that's evolved. I think that's not necessarily the best way to look at it, but that's what it used to be. I think within this new ecosystem with currency, probably for performance marketers, the biggest thing is being able to pull apart what audience has not seen me on TV yet, and how do I reach them. And I think that all comes with all the great ACR data. It comes with the companies that are driving the currency discussions. And I just think shining a light on those audiences and how they interact with each other will open up the possibility for performance marketers to find those unique audiences.
Right. I'm going to bounce it right back to you. Changes in measurement over the next 12 to 18 months? Anything you see coming that might be of value or of interest?
Changes in measurement?
Changes in measurement.
Oh, measurement. I think I alluded to it before. I just think a continuation of building off what's happened the last 4 or 5 years in terms of tracking cross screen, and as I said, kind of foot traffic and things that are not digital signals. I think will just continue to evolve and get stronger.
TaraLynn?
I was going to say Kaitlin. I'm happy to answer that one as well. So for ACR clean rooms, I think continue to be of importance for a lot of our advertisers. They want to reach the first party for data that Roku has to offer in a privacy compliant way and be able to commingle it and do all of those really cool things. And I think when we're thinking forward 12 to 18 months as performance DR advertisers continue to test and learn, that will be where we're going to go. That is ACR in the clean room and being able to continue to advance the data solutions that we're doing in a privacy compliant way.
I think the privacy compliant part as well. I mean, I think we're all privacy forward, but and want to stay on top of everything. But I think it's going to be interesting what happens in the next few months or a year.
That first party deterministic signal is so important to everything that we do.
Last one from me, so everybody get your questions ready, and hold on for the microphone to come around for the questions, because we are recording this. It's going to go on our YouTube channel, so we want to make sure that everyone hears those questions. My last question, though, I'm going to start with you, TaraLynn, and go around. What one thing would you want attendees today to walk away with when they think about performance marketing on CTV outlets?
All TV will be streamed, which means all ads will be streamed. And so I truly believe that marketers that get in first and start testing, just like the ones that did in digital, search, and social, will be some of the early adopters, will be the ones that kind of win in this. The other thing that I would say is that there is still a lot of opportunity in the ad creative that we get to still explore for DR and performance advertisers, and we're just starting to do all of that. And then the last I would say is for Roku to continuing to invest in the Roku channel with really premium content, which continues to bring people back into the platform, will help create ad experiences for our DR community that didn't necessarily exist a few years ago. And I talk about like the integrations that we get to do with some of the unique originals that we bring to the platform, and also the integrations that we get to do with our live TRC channel is something that reaches over 100 million streamers, and I believe we haven't even scratched the surface on that. So I guess the message I leave with the audience is, if we want to be unmissable in a streaming environment, Roku's definitely the place for that, but I think we all have great products to bring to market for you.
Yeah, I think if you're not testing, you should. And going back to the first question, testing broadly, because every device platform has a different audience. Aside from you and maybe a few outliers, I'd say that predominantly we see, you have your preferred platform for streaming. So you want to ensure that you're testing broadly and finding what audiences works for you. And then I was telling my coworker I was going to try and get in a Star Wars reference. Ooh. So, and I'm new to the Star Wars world. My son has gotten into it, and it registered in that when Yoda said, failure is the best teacher, and I was like, yes. So I know it sounds kind of trivial, but not being afraid to fail and trying to find that target audience and performance, and again, testing and figuring out what works for you. So stand by Yoda on that
Oh,
one.
great, so now I gotta follow Yoda.
You've got it,
I've been
Matt.
speaking at this conference probably for the last 5 years on and off on the same subject, and I think, obviously I don't want to paint a broad brush, but I think there was a lot of people in this industry that tested this 3 years ago, and it didn't work. And I think it wasn't because the medium wasn't right, I think because the measurement wasn't there, I think some of the supply wasn't there. A lot of things have changed and evolved, and so I would say if you tested a few years ago and you haven't done it in a while, now's the time to get back in. There are a ton of providers in the space that can help you do it. As I said, most of the people that you would interact with are performance marketers. They know what you're dealing with, what you're trying to do. And so just embrace it and get back in and test it because, as you said, everything's going to be streaming. No one's going to predict what year it is, but it's going to happen, and you want to be ready.
And our teams probably didn't exist 4 years
Right.
ago. So that's a testament to where we are as a marketplace. We all have teams now that are focused on this, and we have product teams that are focused on driving performance for your brands on our platform. So that's, I think, a huge testament to how far we've come.
And to your point, Kaitlin, as well, I mean, aside from it being Yoda and very, very powerful, this is an industry that, when I started covering it for Response Magazine, the whole idea was, well, we have 20 failures for one hit, So this is an industry that's used to that idea and shouldn't fear that idea today with this. So, point taken. Audience questions.
Yoda.
Got one right up front here.
Thank you. I'm Leif Welch with Jamloop. This question is for TaraLynn and Kaitlin. Do you, when you think about the inventory, let's say Roku channel and then Samsung TV Plus, do you bifurcate the price of the inventory, let's say for traditional brand advertisers versus the DR who are going to expect far lower pricing? Do you have, how do you handle that?
Caitlin, you want to take it first?
Yeah, we can give you a rate card outside if you want. I mean, when coming into the performance world, we know that you guys have different needs than brand general market advertisers. That's why we have a specific team for it. So yes, and I think we want to do what we want it to work just as much as you, right? So I think we want to work together in finding a happy medium where everybody succeeds.
We work really closely with brands to understand what their marketing objectives are, and we build completely around that. We want to meet marketers where they are and be as flexible as we can, even with the way that you work with us, whether it be through programmatic, direct IO, or even our ads manager tool where full transparency, you can just use a credit card, go on and actually launch the ads yourself. So there's definitely, I think it's about meet marketers where they are, making sure the campaign is as efficient as possible and as measurable as it can be. But yeah, we'll share our rate card with you as well.
We got one right next to you, and then one right up front after that.
Hi, it's Michael Cote from TV Scientific. So it's interesting, it seems in CTV that there's actually a pretty broad variation in the quality of an exposure in a household, even when that household's on the target audience list. So I can reach a new home intender in a good way, on good media that's effective. I can reach that same household with inventory that proves to be far less performant, or the measure of good and bad only being performant, right? Have you given any thought to qualities of an impression, like a co-viewing factor, like an attention metric, that we can use to understand why when I buy an audience from you, sometimes it performs and sometimes it doesn't. Some of it performs very well, some of it doesn't, and we're trying to kind of figure out how we parse open the details of the quality of the impressions that we're buying. Does that make any sense to you at all?
Do you mean the inventory specifically?
I'll give you an example. So we went and we looked at all the different media we were buying for a specific advertiser, and we found no correlation between price and performance. Meaning $30 CPM inventory was performing equally well from the same publisher, equally well as $13 inventory available from that publisher. And we surmise that it's because the publisher is actually packaging their quality inventory in that $30 bucket and their late night, or we don't know who the heck we're reaching in the home inventory in the other bucket. And the $30 inventory actually outperformed the $13 inventory. And so what we're seeing is that not all inventory well, not all ways to reach a given household are equally valuable. Some ways are better, and the only metrics I've seen that start to characterize the quality of that inventory are attention metrics and co-viewing factors. Right, so I'm just kind of curious if you've given any thought to that. I think for this community, understanding which of the inventory options are best is really the hard challenge.
I would love to have that tackle that question with you with our data science team and our team that's working on all of the AI intelligence. But I think at its core, Matt, you want to take it?
No, I'm surprised by especially the CPM. I'm not surprised by the content. I mean, think about it. When you're buying linear, there's the same ad at 2 different channels is going to perform different. Same ad, same channel, different day parts is going to perform different. So that doesn't surprise me that big giant disparity in CPM does. And I agree. I'd love to kind of dig into more of that and understand what you guys are seeing, because it surprises me.
Yeah, like inventories in different parts of the waterfall. There's like so many different factors that could go into the statement that I actually would love the opportunity to dig in with you more on that offline.
I'd also throw in like ad pod, maybe ad pods.
I really enjoyed your panel, and thank you guys for coming up here. And I'm just, CTV, performance world, do you, as largest providers out there, Magnite, Roku, Samsung, do you think it'll ever get to a PI model, a per inquiry model for you guys? CPI, paid per inquiry.
We're exploring some stuff. Absolutely. Would love to work together. Let's talk about it. Matt Brem is in the audience. Let's all chat after. We work together at Roku, and we'd be happy to chat.
I think being able to provide access to all advertisers is the goal, right? So I think we're open to different buying methods and transaction methods.
Have you gotten there yet, or is it still kind of like a...
No, we're open to it.
We're there.
How you doing? Michael Weinstein. Okay, so we've touched on this question I'm about to ask about 4 or 5 times today, but I'm going to try a little different way of saying it. So from a marketer's perspective, from the brand's perspective, we are all super eager to test. A lot of us have been testing. The general consensus, again, rates are a bit higher for those of us that are looking for an ROI versus a brand that's driving retail or something like that. So my question is, are we at a point yet, or do you have examples that you don't need to disclose, but just are there campaigns that are spending real dollars yet in this industry from an ROI standpoint that you can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why we're all sitting up here today. Yeah, the answer to that question is yes. I can't share and disclose all the brands that we're working with and where we're seeing them scale and how they're scaling. But again, we use our tools to help advertisers to understand where they need to be, the audiences that they need to leverage in order to reach that ROI. So we would be happy, Matt and I, to talk to you a little bit more about how you can do that on the Roku platform. And I'm sure you all would probably agree for your companies as well.
Answer is yes.
The time is now. The time is now, that's for sure.
I think, too, we're seeing people commit more up front, which is a testament to the success that they've been seeing. So, being able to do multi-million-dollar upfront commitments, for a quarter, a year, what have you, I think shows the level of interest and success that people are having.
Right.
I think there's a number of reasons. I'm probably a little bit biased why I think CTV and streaming is probably a better option for direct response advertisers versus linear. The first domino, I think, is targeting. Can you guys dig a little bit more into what targeting taxonomies and tactics are available specifically within your platforms? Third-party general audiences, contextual targeting, what partners you work with. Is it your own owned and operated first-party data? Just dig a little bit more to that.
Yes, and I don't know, so I feel like people are trying to break in the room to hear all of this stuff behind us. I don't know if you can hear all of that noise, but that's how exciting your panel is, Thomas. We have access to all the first-party data at Roku because we have logged in consumers that are using our platform. So when you get your Roku, or if you don't have one, I'd be happy to send you one, where you're logging in your email address, your credit card information. We understand and put that into a Roku targeting segment for you. And then we also have not just all of your audience information of like adults 25 to 54 or just your demographic information. We also have all of the content that you're watching. That is another audience segment. And to the last point and question that you had, which was around third-party data, we have all access to all third-party data in our platform. We, again, have a very open ecosystem of working with all the different data providers and then curating that in our platform and making it available to you. And then the other thing I will add is the ability to commingle your first-party data with Roku's first-party data in a privacy-compliant way, whether that be through a clean room, is another availability. And another way that we're seeing some advertisers is taking their first-party segments and uploading them into our platform for targeting as well, or remessaging, or suppression, because they don't want to reach that audience, or creating lookalikes off that audience. So there's just so many things that we can do and explore, and it's kind of strategically working together to build out what that roadmap may look like for you as an advertiser to make sure you're not spreading yourself too far, I'd say, and over-testing to some degree, and making sure that we're getting in front of the right audience at the right time with the right message on the largest screen in the home.
Plus one to that.
I would also, I sound like a little bit like an echo, but I would say 3 to 5 years ago, I think there was a lot of over-promising on what you could and couldn't target in CTV, just because the device graphs, the household graphs were still being built, still being perfected. And I think there was a bad taste in some people's mouths on, hey, I'm throwing this targeting on and it's not working. I think that's just like measurement has evolved and got way better. And anything you want to do, whether it's first party, third party, all of those have just got that much better over the last couple of years.
I think you can use as much data as you want, but sometimes keeping it simple also works as well. You know, contextual still is a big portion of what we see, and as well as, you know, being able to take channels that index against an audience, saying, okay, let's run on the top 7,500 channels that index against a specific audience. That way you don't have to pay for additional targeting, but you know that you're getting a bit more closer to that target audience. So keeping the balance of being able to refine your targeting while staying cost effective.
We got time for one more if anyone has one. All right, here, we got to get that mic.
From your perspective, from your desktop, are you seeing an increase in DSP buys on the programmatic side, or are you seeing more new growth from new advertisers from the direct-to-publisher, direct-to-platform basis? So DSP programmatic versus your own in-house sales teams. Are you seeing a growth in either area?
I can't necessarily answer the growth questions, particularly in each area, but what I can say is we create a very open ability to work with Roku, whether that's our inventory in a third-party platform or a third-party DSP, in our own DSP, in our own ads manager tool. So the Roku channel or the Roku audience network is available in all of those different places, and we're seeing advertisers basically work with Roku now even more so than ever because of the openness of being able to work with us, even if it's in a direct IO or in a programmatic platform. 4 years ago, that wasn't the case. It was you could only work with us in one way, and it looked very, very hard to work with us. Fast forward to today, we've actually made it simplified that process. The only time it becomes, I think, a little harder for some marketers is with some of the larger, more branded, integrated experiences. Those maybe won't be as available programmatically for all of the reasons that we completely understand, because they're very integrated branding experiences. But again, I guess if I could leave you with anything, it's what you're trying to accomplish as an advertiser or an agency. You know that you could work with us, and we're going to try to figure out whatever that may be as flexible as possible to get you the right inventory at the right price to drive conversions.
I don't know, separating out, like, there's just general growth, and then we're seeing it across, but, you know, buying mechanism. But yeah, I'd say that it's a little bit hard to decipher. Like, is it just general growth, like net new advertisers, increased investment, you know, but being able to provide, again, that parity across buying mechanism.
Yeah, total gut is they're both growing, and DSP they slightly outpacing IO growth, but that's like a gut guess. That's not for Magnite, that's for the industry. Just taking a shot at it.
We're going to hold you to that.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you, TaraLynn, Kaitlin, Matt. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.